Alright, so you start off with 3 types of Pokemon. You got the women, gays, and the police. Now, the police are effective against the gays. That's obvious. But then, the gays, who get set on fire, are strong against women. You ever see a woman get off scot-free from talking shit about gay men? Hell no! Then the women marry the cops and make the cops' lives miserable. So they're pretty effective against the cops. Then, you got the other type, and they are called loud women. They're pretty effective against most other types, like all men, except the gays. Then there's also the Asians, and they're weak against, the ground. Are you following along? And then you got other fan favorites, like black people. Black people? They're pretty good. You can't even punch them. They run so fast. And they're best against the whites. Or themselves. Though the former wasn't even a problem until the Emancipation Proclamation. That same year, racism was made. And obesity. And everybody knows racists are colorblind. So they killed everybody. Because racism, that is not okay. Not okay! But if you punch a racist, they die. It's true! Of course, I can't go on without mentioning white people. White people, they're pretty good. They began in the year 200 BC, when the great Tatanani made a proclamation to his people. Fuck niggas! Having made leaps of technological advancement, they have eliminated both crime and disease, and are effective against all types. Except obesity. But then you look at the gays, and you say, oop, bye-bye, fatty. Look at these guys. Look at their cardio regimens. They are chads beyond the standard man. Ever see a kid's movie? It's always the fat kid who gets beat the shit out of him. Of course, even violence itself has a weakness, and that's called balloons. How the fuck are you gonna punch a balloon? But if you throw the rock up there, it'll come down. Also, the Asians are taking our technology made by Ben Franklin with the weather. And they're also a big cause of the pollutions. So the Asians have a huge type advantage. But also, who could forget the rock? Come on, are you following along? Then we got other types, like disease, and that kills people. But it don't work too good on the blacks, because they die at the age of 20. But it does kill women, normal women, because breast cancer is a big fucking deal apparently. Also, don't you fucking forget the rock. And then you got gamers, and gamers, they're extra strong. And nothing beats a gamer, except other gamers. Because when they play video games, somebody's gotta win and somebody's gotta lose. But nothing beats gamers besides other gamers, except religion. Because I wanna play Call of Duty, and my dad comes up to me and he says, no, you praying to Jesus, boy. And I say, no, I'm playing Call of Duty. And then he slaps me. And it hurts because I'm black. I mean racist. And so I don't get to play my Call of Duty because religion is stupid. And it's also slowly dying by the gays and violence and rocks. Also, it doesn't work on obese people, too. But it is effective against the ground. That's why some land is deemed holy. Also, you ever see a woman in the religious culture's hierarchy? Yeah, they get fucking beat. Plus, law enforcement can't do shit about religion. And it's still pretty good against me, because I'm a gamer and underage. But are you finally seeing the connection? Are you following along? The gays are set on fire and stoned to death. The police are a militarized enforcement group. You know what else was a militarized enforcement group? The military. And in which country did the US face its first unofficial militarized war loss? Asian Vietnam. Women step on the ground, but loud women cannot. This proves 9/11 is wrong. Being smart doesn't do anything. It's not effective against anything. Loud women cannot hurt black people because black people grew up with loud women. Religion has God, and he's in the sky where balloons float up. So the balloons are fucked. Do you see this? It's all connected. All of it. Also, did you forget that I'm a gamer? But I'm also black. I mean racist. Racist and a gamer? Sort of a rhetoric statement, but how can that be? Dual types, nigga! You following along? You got smart women, religious gays, Mexicans, The Rock with the real game theory himself, mulatto, supercomputer, Obamacare, Central Intelligence, the movie. There's a million combinations! A million, baby! But don't forget something very important, that gamers are extra strong. They got the good shit, cause they're all also racist and sexist automatically. That's why they know fire moves, because just like the gay people, they hate women. But my dad, he ain't a gamer. He's just a racist and black. So I don't see him very often, actually ever. But he's invincible! He's invincible! My dad's invincible! Look at this! He's racist and black. He has no weakness. He's a racist black man who will fucking kill you. Look at the statistics! No weakness! He's invincible! He's invincible! No weakness! No weakness! Invincible! Invincible! Or he was, until a new typing came along in 2013, and for years after grew and grew in fame and fortune until winning Time Magazine's Women of the Year in 2015. This was a type severely weak to disease, because warping bodily hormones tends to lead towards cancer. A type not even the gays could tolerate, because they were always being lumped in with them for no reason. Because of them, women actually believed they had a chance in competing in competitive gaming. That's right, I'm talking about pedophilia. I'm talking about transgenders. Finally, after all these years, there was a typing that could kill even my dad. My big, black, hard, throbbing, sexual deviantizing, rapist, rape women. No, that's not true, but he loves my mom. Dad!
Fine to meet you. Let's sit right here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Tell me what you're thinking and feeling right now, Gary.
I'm hurt bad.